My name is Emily Adams, a wife trapped in the clutches of a dysfunctional family. My husband Mark is a kind and loving man, but the same cannot be said about his mother and brother. We met on a sunny day and love bloomed between us. Little did I know that my path was intertwined with a family that would torment me. Mark's mother, Margaret, was a woman of sharp edges and a poisonous tongue. Her piercing glares and snide remarks were a constant presence, like a thorn in my side. And then there was Brian, Mark's younger brother, a man whose arrogance knew no bounds. They formed a toxic duo that made my life a living hell. It all started innocently enough. After Mark and I tied the knot, we eagerly embarked on our journey as a married couple. We visited Mark's family hoping for a warm welcome and a chance to build a bond. But from the moment I stepped into their house, I felt a chill in the air, as if their disapproval had seeped into the very walls.
Margaret's disapproving eyes scanned me from head to toe, her voice dripping with disdain. "So this is the girl you chose?" She sneered, her words laced with contempt. Brian stood by her side, smirking, his superiority evident in every fiber of his being. "You could have done better, Mark," he remarked, his voice brimming with arrogance.
I tried my best to remain composed, to brush off their cruel words, but as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, their treatment of me grew worse. Margaret found fault in everything I did. The way I dressed, the way I spoke, even the way I decorated our humble abode. Brian was no different, always quick to make snide comments and undermine my confidence. One evening, as we gathered around the dinner table, Margaret's passive-aggressive comments reached a boiling point. "Emily, dear, you really should learn how to cook. It's a wife's duty to take care of her husband," she declared, her voice dripping with disdain. I felt my face flush with embarrassment and anger surge through my veins.
I mustered the courage to speak up. "Margaret, I do my best. Cooking is not my strongest suit, but I'm always willing to learn," I said, my voice steady but tinged with frustration.
Mark glanced at me, his eyes pleading for peace. "Please, let's not argue," he interjected, attempting to diffuse the tension.
But Margaret wasn't finished. She turned her gaze on him, her voice laced with condescension. "You see, Mark, she can't even handle the simplest of tasks. Maybe you should have thought twice before marrying her," she spat.
The room fell into an uncomfortable silence, the weight of Margaret's words lingering in the air. I excused myself, tears threatening to spill from my eyes. Alone in our room, I questioned my place in this family, wondering how I had become the target of their relentless cruelty. And so the seeds of resentment and determination took root within me. I vowed to find strength within myself to rise above their toxic behavior. Little did they know I would soon unleash a storm they would never forget. A storm painted with the colors of revenge. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and the cycle of torment persisted. Margaret and Brian found every opportunity to belittle me, criticizing my appearance, my choices, and even my cooking skills. The weight of their constant disapproval gnawed at my spirit, and I struggled to find solace within the walls of their oppressive home.
I sought solace in Mark's arms, pouring out my heartache and frustration. "Mark, I can't take it anymore," I confessed, tears streaming down my face. "Your mother and brother treat me like I'm worthless. I feel trapped and suffocated."
Mark held me tightly, his voice filled with empathy. "I'm so sorry, Emily. I never wanted this for us. I thought they would come around, see the wonderful person you are, but it seems they're blinded by their own prejudices."
I gazed into his eyes, searching for a glimmer of hope. "What can we do, Mark? I can't continue living like this. It's tearing us apart."
Mark's resolve hardened as he spoke. "We'll confront them. We'll make them see the pain they're causing. We deserve better, Emily. We deserve a life free from their toxic presence."
Heartened by his determination, I mustered the strength to face Margaret and Brian once again. We invited them over for dinner, hoping that this time they would be receptive to our plea for understanding. As they arrived, tension hung thick in the air like a storm gathering its strength. Margaret's cold gaze met mine.
As I walked away from the house, a sense of satisfaction washed over me. The storm had been unleashed, and I was the orchestrator of its chaos. Revenge was no longer a distant dream. It was now my reality, and I would savor every moment of it. With the front of their house painted as a vivid reminder of their mistreatment, I reveled in the knowledge that my revenge had begun. The transformation had ignited a spark within me, a newfound strength that fueled my determination to make them pay for their cruelty. As days turned into weeks, I carefully laid the groundwork for my plan. I conducted meticulous research, uncovering their deepest fears and vulnerabilities. It was time to turn the tables, to play the game by my rules. One evening, Mark and I received an invitation from Margaret. She requested our presence for a family dinner, her tone laced with a false sense of reconciliation. It was an opportunity I couldn't pass up, a chance to expose their true colors. We arrived at their house, the air thick with tension and anticipation. Margaret welcomed us with a forced smile, her eyes flickering with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. I sensed her unease, and it fueled my determination to carry out my plan. Over dinner, the conversation danced around trivial matters, yet I could sense the underlying unease, the unspoken question of what lay beneath the surface. It was time to push their boundaries, to make them confront the consequences of their actions.
Brian, ever the provocateur, couldn't resist taking a jab at me. So, Emily, have you finally realized your place in this family? Or are you still trying to be something you're not?
I met his gaze, a sly smile tugging at the corners of my lips. "Oh, Brian," I said, my voice dripping with mock innocence. "I've learned many things during my time in this family, and it's given me a unique perspective."
Margaret's eyes narrowed, suspicion glimmering within them. "What are you implying, Emily?" she demanded, her voice laced with caution.
I leaned forward, my voice low and steady. "You see, Margaret, actions have consequences, and I've come to realize that your actions have painted you in a rather unflattering light. You see, Margaret, actions have consequences, and I've come to realize that your actions have painted you in a rather unflattering light."
Mark shot me a concerned glance, but I assured him with a reassuring smile. I had planned this carefully, and I was prepared for their reactions.
The room fell silent, the weight of my words lingering in the air. Margaret's face contorted with a mixture of anger and curiosity. "What are you talking about, Emily?" "Speak clearly," she demanded.
I reveled in the moment, allowing a flicker of triumph to dance in my eyes. "Do you remember the night I slept outside? The night you humiliated me, Margaret?" I said, my voice steady but tinged with an underlying threat.
Brian scoffed, his arrogance still intact. "What about it? You're just an outsider, trying to disrupt our family."
I leaned back in my chair, a glimmer of mischief in my eyes. "Well, Brian, that night was just the beginning. You see, I've been keeping something from both of you. A secret that will expose your true selves to the world." Their eyes widened, a mixture of fear and curiosity spreading across their faces. I relished in their discomfort, knowing that the seeds of revenge had taken root.
"What secret?" Margaret demanded, her voice trembling with a mix of anticipation and dread.
I leaned forward once more, my voice dripping with calculated delight. "Let's just say I've gathered quite a collection of evidence. Phone records, emails, hidden conversations. It's all there, meticulously documented." A tense silence enveloped the room, the weight of my words hanging like a guillotine over their heads. I could see the panic rising within them, their carefully constructed facades crumbling under the weight of their own guilt.
"You can't prove anything," Brian muttered, his bravado wavering.
"Oh, but I can," I replied, a wicked smile playing on my lips. "And if you don't want the world to know the true extent of your cruelty, I suggest you start treating me with the respect I deserve." The room buzzed with unease, the power dynamics shifting before their eyes. They were at my mercy now, cornered by their own actions. As we left their house that night, a sense of satisfaction washed over me. The seeds of revenge had been sown, and the game had taken a thrilling turn. They would think twice before crossing me again. Little did they know that this was only the beginning. The storm I had unleashed would continue to grow, its fury mounting until it consumed them completely. Revenge would be mine. The stage was set, and the final act of my revenge was about to unfold. The evidence I had collected meticulously lay like a ticking time bomb, ready to shatter the illusion they had built around themselves.
The stage was set, and the final act of my revenge was about to unfold. The pieces I had collected meticulously lay like a ticking time bomb, ready to shatter the illusion they had built around themselves. With every passing day, their behavior shifted. Margaret's once haughty demeanor became tinged with apprehension, and Brian's arrogance waned as the weight of their secrets bore down on them. They were acutely aware that the tables had turned, that they were no longer in control.
One evening, I received a call from Margaret. Her voice trembled, the facade of confidence slipping away. "Emily, we need to talk," she said, her tone laced with desperation.
Curiosity piqued, I agreed to meet her at a nearby cafe. As I sat across from her, I could see the fear in her eyes, the remnants of the once indomitable matriarch now reduced to a fragile shell.
What is it, Margaret? I asked, my voice dripping with a mix of curiosity and satisfaction.
She took a deep breath, her words tumbling out in a rush. "Emily, I can't go on like this. The weight of my actions, our actions, it's suffocating me. I'm willing to change, to make amends."
I leaned back in my chair, savoring the moment. "Oh, Margaret, how the mighty have fallen," I remarked, relishing in the reversal of power. "But words alone won't suffice. Actions speak louder than empty promises."
Margaret's gaze pleaded with mine, desperation etched across her face. "Tell me what I need to do. I'll do anything to make this right."
A devilish smile played on my lips as I laid out my terms. "First, I want a public apology, a sincere acknowledgement of the pain you've caused, and a promise to treat me with respect moving forward."
Margaret nodded, her eyes filled with a mix of resignation and determination. "I can do that. What else?"
And second, I continued, the anticipation building. "I want you to confess to Mark about the depths of your mistreatment, to acknowledge the role you played in our suffering."
Her eyes widened, fear flickering within them. I can't do that. He'll hate me."
I leaned forward, my voice firm but laced with a touch of menace. "If you want any chance at redemption, Margaret, you will tell him the truth. The choice is yours."
Weeks passed, and Margaret's public apology reverberated through our social circles. The whispers grew louder, the scrutiny sharper. The weight of her confession weighed heavily on her, but it was a necessary step toward healing. The cracks in their familial facade had deepened, and their bond began to unravel. Mark confronted his mother, demanding answers, seeking the truth that had been hidden from him for so long. The revelation shattered him, but it was a necessary catharsis for both of us. As the dust settled, I watched from a distance, observing the impact of my vengeance. Their once seemingly impenetrable fortress had crumbled, and they were left with the remnants of their shattered illusions. In the wake of their unraveling, I found a sense of closure, a newfound strength that had grown from the depths of their mistreatment. Revenge, once a burning desire, had transformed into empowerment. I had claimed my worth, exposed their cruelty, and emerged stronger on the other side. And as I walked away from their fractured world, I realized that revenge was not merely an act of retaliation. It was a catalyst for change, a means of reclaiming my identity, and a reminder that no one should ever be subjected to such mistreatment. With a heart full of resolve, I stepped into the light, leaving behind the shadows of their cruelty. My journey was far from over, but I walked it with my head held high, no longer defined by their twisted perceptions. Revenge had been my vehicle to liberation, and I embraced the newfound freedom with every step.